Everyone tells you to buy a house. Your parents, your friends, the so-called experts. Renting is throwing money away, they all chant. Build equity. Stop making your landlord rich. They're wrong. For most of us, in most places, renting wins, and the math isn't even close. This isn't about the dream of a white picket fence. This is pure, cold numbers, and once you see them, you'll never look at this debate the same way again. Let's destroy the biggest financial myth in America. So, let's start with the lie. You see a $400,000 house. You put 20% down, that's 80 grand. You get a mortgage for $320,000 at 7%. Your payment is $2,128 a month. You could rent the exact same house next door for $2,500. The common wisdom screams, you're paying almost $400 less to own. Renting is waste. But that is not the real comparison, because $2,100 is not what home ownership actually costs, not even close. Let's do the math your realtor doesn't show you. First, add property taxes. The U.S. average is 1.1% of the home's value. On your $400,000 house, that's another $367 a month. Your real cost is now $2,495, almost exactly the same as rent, and we're just getting started. Second, homeowner's insurance. That's about $125 a month. Now you're at $2,620. You're officially paying more than the renter. Third, maintenance. The rule of thumb is 1% of the home's value a year, another $333 a month. Your cost is now approaching $3,000. Fourth, HOA fees. Let's be conservative and say $300. You're now at $3,253, over $750 more than renting. But the biggest cost is the one nobody ever talks about. The fifth cost, opportunity. That $80,000 down payment you made, if you had just invested it in the stock market, it would be earning you, on average, $667 a month. That's money you are losing every single month by tying it up in a house. Your effective monthly cost is now nearly $4,000. Add in closing costs, another $143 a month, and major repairs, not just maintenance, but the big stuff, the new roof, the new HVAC, that's another $138 a month. So let's be clear, your total effective monthly cost to own that $400,000 house is $4,201. The renter next door is paying $2,500. You are spending $1,701 more every single month. That's over $20,000 a year. But you're building equity, people scream. Let's look at that. In your first year of your $2,100 mortgage payment, only $390 goes to principal. The rest is just interest. You are spending an extra $1,700 a month to build $390 of equity. It's a terrible deal. But the house appreciates. Okay, let's say it goes up 4%. That's $16,000 a year. Sounds great, but you're spending $20,400 more than the renter to get that $16,000. You are still losing over $4,000 a year. And that's before we ask the most important question of all. What is the renter doing with that extra $1,700 they're saving every single month? Think about it.
Here's where the math on homeownership gets really interesting and maybe a little uncomfortable. Take a renter who is saving $1,700 a month compared to a homeowner. Now, let's say they don't just save it, they invest it. S&P 500, a 10% average annual return. After just 7 years, that renter has $180,000 in their investment account. The homeowner? They've got about $100,000 in equity. The renter is already $80,000 ahead. Let's fast forward. After 15 years, the renter's investments have ballooned to $580,000. The homeowner's equity is sitting at $280,000. The renter is now ahead by $300,000. But the 30-year mark is where it becomes undeniable. After 3 decades, that disciplined renter has $3.8 million in investments. The homeowner? They finally own their house outright. It's appreciated, maybe it's worth $800,000. The renter is $3 million ahead. $3 million. This is the massive hidden opportunity cost of tying up your money in a house. Now, I know what you're thinking, but rent goes up. Of course it does, and so do property taxes, so does home insurance, so do HOA fees and those surprise maintenance costs. All of homeownership inflates. But my mortgage payment is fixed. True, but that's just one piece of the puzzle. all the other costs climb year after year. Look, this isn't to say buying is always a mistake. It does make sense for some people, but the conditions are strict. 1. You are staying put for at least 10 years. If you're moving in 5, transaction costs will almost certainly make it a loss. 2. You get a massive deal, buying a house for far less than it's worth. 3. You're in a very low-cost area where the numbers are much closer to begin with. 4. You're handy and can save thousands a year on maintenance. And 5. Interest rates are incredibly low, like 3%, where your payments actually build equity from day one, not just pay off interest for a decade. But let's be honest, most people don't meet these conditions. Most of us buy at market price in expensive areas with high interest rates and plan to move in 5 to 7 years. For most of us, buying is a financial trap disguised as the American dream. And it's not just about the money. Home ownership kills your flexibility. You're anchored. You can't just pick up and move for that dream job in another city. You can't easily downsize when the kids move out. A renter, they have options. Life changes and rent adapts. A homeowner is stuck. That anchor has a real cost, the opportunities you miss because you can't sell your house. Then there's the psychological trap. Family, friends, society, everyone treats renting like you're falling behind. But the quiet millionaire next door, there's a good chance they rent because they understand that tying up all their capital in a depreciating asset, yes, the house depreciates, only the land depreciates, is often a terrible investment. Even Warren Buffett's famous house, bought in 1958, has only returned about 3% a year. His stock portfolio? Over 20% annually. He knows where real wealth is built. So, here's the bottom line. If you want to buy a house because you love the idea of it, you want stability, you want to paint the walls any color you want, then fine, buy the house. But don't lie to yourself. You're not making a great investment. You're buying a lifestyle, and you need to own that decision. But if your goal is to build wealth, to have flexibility, to maximize your net worth, then rent. Invest the difference and watch your wealth compound while your homeowner friends are complaining about their broken water heater. The math doesn't lie. For most people, in most situations, renting wins. So you have to ask yourself if you're brave enough to ignore society and just follow the math. Calculate your real cost of ownership, everything. Then run the numbers on investing the difference for 10, 20, 30 years. The result will shock you. And you'll realize the real question isn't when should I buy a house? The real question is why would I? Next time, we're breaking down the hidden costs of car ownership and why your $500 monthly payment actually cost you $100,000. I'll see you there.